Time is a curious thing. Time can be exact. Time can be imprecise. Time can be slow for some and faster for others. Time exists in the mind, and it exists in the universe. And according to some theories, one day time may even come to a halt. So let's find out how, why, and when in our video which seeks to answer the question, will time end? Number 5. Time requires consciousness? In our recent video on what happens when you die, we briefly touched upon an idea which may be relevant to the question of whether time can have a conclusion. Robert Lanza believes that consciousness is fundamental to the concept of time, and that without conscious beings, time simply stops existing. I guess it's similar to the old thought experiment which asks, if a tree falls in the forest and nobody's there to hear it, does it make a sound? If nobody's there to perceive it, does an event happen? Is perception the fundamental driver of all things, even the things we cannot control? This idea requires us to evaluate the exact wording of our question, because what do we mean by an end? Do we mean a permanent end, or a temporary one? Soccer matches end, but that doesn't mean all soccer is finished forever. Relationships end, but that doesn't mean you can never date again. Unless it's a really messy breakup and you've buried your lover in a shallow grave outside a kindergarten. And furthermore, just because one event ends, it does not necessarily mean every other event ends as well. What if, when time finally ends, whether it's limited to a human's perception or the actual death of the universe, what if it simply does so to allow new time to begin? Or perhaps no more time will come, and something new and bizarre will take its place, like flare guns or titty clams. Number 4. Eternally inflating universes. Current estimates peg the age of our universe at around 14 billion years old, but according to some physicists, we may not make it out of our teens, as they believe time could grind to a halt 5 billion years from now, or 3 billion years from now, or in 1 second. Dang, I hope I'm wearing clean underwear. Theoretically, time could have ended at any point during this video, or at any point in history for that matter. And how have these physicists worked this out? Well, it has something to do with the origins of our universe and the concept of infinity. This prediction is based on the idea of eternal inflation, which describes our universe as one of an infinite number of universes containing an infinite amount of space-time, each of which is capable of spawning its own universes, and so on and so forth. If we do exist within a multiverse reality, then everything you do, every event that has ever occurred, can and will happen. But this causes a problem when you're trying to work out the probability of something. Today, the average American stands a 1 in 430,000 chance of dying while getting out of bed, a 1 in 1.6 million chance of being hit by a meteorite, and a 1 in 175 million chance of winning the Powerball lottery. Sounds like quite a day. But if the multiverse theory is true, your chances of all these things occurring to you or another you on a different multiverse level are 1 out of 1, dead certain. So what does this have to do with time? Well, to make calculating probabilities a little easier, physicists have come up with a mathematical approach called geometric cutoffs. And if you're picturing a sassy pair of jean shorts, you're sadly wrong. These cutoffs split the multiverse into different sections and remove infinity from the equation. helping us to calculate probabilities based on that one particular sample. Basically, if you wanted to know how many bloody syringes were in your local lake before you went swimming in it, you wouldn't count them all. You'd take a square meter area, count the ones in there, and extrapolate that based on how big the lake is. But when these mathematical cutoffs are used to reduce time to a potential finite thing, we can calculate the probability of certain universe-ending events happening with more accuracy. And in the 5 scenarios calculated using this approach, time had a definite ending in each and every one of them. Number 3. A big crunch. You've heard of the Big Bang, but what about the Big Crunch? Sounds delicious, right? Wrong. The Big Crunch is a theoretical ending to the universe whereby everything that ever was and ever has been coalesces into one final singularity. An ultra-dense region where you, Jupiter, and giraffes are all smushed into a single point within which time, according to physics, ceases to exist. To get there, the universe would undergo a gradual process that takes place over tens of billions of years, just like the expansion of the Big Bang except in reverse, during which time may even move backwards. That morning dump you just took? Prepare for re-entry! And what's crazy is that we may not even know that time was reversing, because our perception of it would simply not change. We could be going in reverse right now, and some people believe we already are, and that the universe is currently on a backwards collision course heading straight towards the Big Crunch and the end of time. However, this wouldn't be the end of all time, as it is also believed that another Big Bang would occur shortly after the Big Crunch has finished destroying the concept of personal space forever. This model sees our universe as a bubble that constantly grows and shrinks. It describes universes of time and space as things which blink in and out of existence. So while according to this theory, time certainly would end at some point, it wouldn't necessarily be the end. Number 2. Perception of time. As human beings get older, a common complaint is that time seems to feel like it's speeding up. Your 20s go by in a whiz, your 30s are mere seconds, and before you know it, you're soiling yourself in an old folks' home, and bam, you're dead. So why does this happen? And could we ever manipulate this feeling? Psychologists believe that time feels like it's speeding up as you age because you're comparing it to the length of time you've existed. This is called Proportionality Theory, and it explains how a year in your 40s goes by faster because it is only 1/40th of the time you have been alive. That same period of time would be a whole quarter of a 4-year-old's life, hence why they and other young people perceive it to be slower. But things that can be slowed can almost always be stopped, and it's the same for things that speed up. If the speed of something can be manipulated, does that mean that there's a psychological trick we can pull on the human brain to make time slow down again? Perhaps even bringing the mind's perception of time to a halt. Turns out there is, and it simply involves doing more stuff. By taking in more of your surroundings and deliberately engaging your consciousness, psychologists have demonstrated that humans can completely master their own perception of time, provided they are sufficiently aware. Time is slower for kids because they enjoy more fresh and unique experiences, since the world is entirely new for them. So if you want to slow down life, go outside and play right now. Fear has also been proven to slow down our perception of reality, and this makes me wonder, if one person was made hyper-aware in a room full of creepy clowns, how slow could you make time feel for them? And could you ever become so aware that time almost stops? And in at number 1, the relative nature of time. We think of time as something which exists universally and which is experienced by everyone and everything in the same way. But that's not true, as time dilation shows us. According to special relativity, the faster you go, the slower time moves. Time dilation tells us that two objects moving at different speeds will experience time differently, and this was proven during the Hayflick-Keating experiment in 1971, when ultra-precise atomic clocks were taken on board commercial airliners and flown around the world. When the times on these clocks were compared to an identical pair left on the ground, they showed that more time had elapsed for those on the ground than the ones left in the planes. A similar effect occurred when astronaut Scott Kelly was sent into space while his twin brother Mark remained on Earth. Mark was already the slightly older sibling, but upon Scott's return, the gap between them in age had stretched, albeit by as little as 8.6 milliseconds. But however small the effect, this still demonstrates the incredible possibilities of time and how it works differently throughout the universe, depending on what you're doing and how fast you're moving. It means that two individual people, or even millions and billions of people, can conceivably experience time at vastly differing speeds, especially if one of them is lingering around a black hole, where time is known to slow down almost to an end. And if you could somehow move at the speed of light, time would pretty much end too. But that's where things get interesting, because as we said before, if something can be slowed, surely it can be stopped. Is there a large enough black hole or other powerful object somewhere in the universe that could bring time to a complete standstill? Who knows? Because we sure wouldn't if we were being influenced by one. As if right now a giant invisible force influencing Earth started slowing down time to a trickle. Tomorrow wouldn't feel any different.
But did you know there's a truly mind-bending theory on the nature of time, which we haven't even mentioned yet? Because while some scientists believe that time moves forwards, and others think it might be moving backwards, there are some that think time may not move at all, that time may be static, with the past, the present, and the future all happening at once. Time is an astonishing force which can be moving and stationary. It can be finite and infinite. In a way, time is like a lake, static and still, with everything that ever was, is, and will be all occurring at exactly the same time, instead of like a river, always moving in the same direction. This is something we're going to cover in our Go Deeper bonus video segment, exclusive to Strange Mysteries Patreons pledging $2 or more per month. If you've already signed up, then you can view the bonus video in the Strange Mysteries Patreon posts feed at patreon.com/Strange Mysteries. But if not, then please consider becoming a Strange Mysteries Patreon today. Our $2 per month premium members also get access to a special Patreon-only feed where they get to participate in the making of exclusive decisions like topic selection or what other perks should be available to premium members. For a higher monthly pledge amount, you can even get more perks like priority topic suggestions, joining a monthly private live stream on YouTube with Nathan, or a private Skype call with Nathan, me. I'm not sure why I'm talking in the third person, although I will not get naked on Skype for you. Our Patreon page can be found at this link here, or you can click on the link in the top of the description. With your help, we can create the kind of content YouTube just loves to censor and demonetize, and with this freedom, we'll be able to not only delve into topics that are much more controversial than before, but your support also provides us with the resources to cover topics at a much greater depth than we ever have before, and to cover the topics that you all really want us to, instead of the ones that fit best with YouTube or just have a good thumbnail. Another way you can help us out is by completing our survey for the best next topics by going to strangemysteriesvote.com or clicking here. If you'd like to instead continue watching regular Strange Mysteries, then check out this link to our recent video on what happens when